Again, I'm not going to preach long today, but I'm going to give you something I think you'll never forget. But after the message, we're going to have a time. I'm going to ask the mothers to come up. We're going to pray with them. We'll give all the mothers a rose today to take with them, some beautiful roses that the church has provided, and give away the gift cards. But I want to do that right after I share a brief message with you. If you have your Bibles, turn to the Old Testament, to the book of 1 Kings chapter 3. 1 Kings chapter 3. I want to read a part of a story here, a reality story, in the life of Solomon. Now, I read this and shared this before years ago as far as remembering this subject, but I don't think we ever shared it on Mother's Day. But one thing I did not know until I was rereading it this week in preparation for today. You know, Solomon, when he became king of Israel, God told him to pray and to ask what he would like to have, and he would give it to him. So Solomon prayed and asked God for wisdom, that he could lead the children of Israel in the right way. And you know the story, because Solomon was not greedy for himself and asked for wealth and riches and fame or fortune, that God also granted to Solomon wealth and other things because he only asked for wisdom. But I didn't realize, but the story we're going to read today is the first thing that happened after God gave Solomon this wisdom that he had asked for as he was going to lead the children of Israel. Solomon had just become king and just been made the ruler in charge. And at this particular time in history, the king was not only the king who made the decisions for the state, he was also the chief justice. He was the Supreme Court. He made all the decisions that related to the people. And so this particular case happens. Beginning in chapter 3, I want to start reading in verse 23 of the story. And the king, Solomon, said, the one says, this is my son who lives, and your son is the dead one. And the other mother says, no, but your son is a dead one, and my son is the living one. Now, I should have said this before, but these two mothers, when you read the scripture, they're harlots, and they're living in a home together, and they both had a son, and one of the mothers rolled over on the son, and the son died during the night. And the next morning she woke up, and the child was dead, but it wasn't hers. So this story begins. Verse 24 says, then the king said, bring me a sword. So they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the little child in two, and give half to one mother, half to the other mother. Then the woman whose son was living, the mother who knew it was her son, spoke to the king, for she yearned with compassion for her son. And she said, oh, my lord, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor hers. Go ahead, cut it in two, divide the child in half. So the king answered and said, give the first woman the living child, and by no means kill him. She is the mother. Now, I chose the title this morning, The Mother Who Spares Her Child. This is a great story. I never thought about it being a Mother's Day story message, but it's probably one of the greatest messages for Mother's Day, not because I'm preaching it, that you'll ever hear. Because it deals with the real choices and the real understanding of what a mother should be to her children. Now, let's talk about the biblical story that's here. Only 3 or 4 points this morning, but the biblical story here. I put this on a red background. I thought it would be better for Mother's Day, but you may have to squint a little bit to read it, but you can read it. There's some elements in this story that we could spend time preaching about or talking about. First of all, there's greed. There's the greed in particular of the mother who lost her child, who wanted a child of her own, who wanted everything to be hers. So you could talk about greed in preaching this message. There's also a message about sacrifice, because King Solomon comes with the sword to sacrifice and to divide the child. And then there's the process of a mother willing to sacrifice her child or not willing to sacrifice her child. You can talk about revenge. You know, it's possible that these two mothers who were living in a very dire situation might have had some kind of spat going on between them as well, and there could be some revenge as to why one is claiming the child when it's not hers, and the argument that goes on. There's judgment involved. King Solomon is brought into the picture to make a decision about what's to happen over the child and between these parents that are involved. Then probably one of the greatest elements here is the element of love. Especially the element of love that's shown by the mother, who was the real mother of the child, who was willing to give up her child that it would live, that it would continue to live and not die. So there's a lot of beautiful elements in this story. Both women wanted a child. Both of them wanted a baby of their own. And these children, when you read the first part of chapter 3 of 1 Kings, they were born about the same time. And so there was a lot of this motherly process. And I don't know, as a father, you know, being the father of sons, and you know, my oldest son is here today, and having sons and children is a wonderful thing. But a mother and a child is something different. A mother goes through this process of the birth process of a child, and the 9 months of all that's involved in bringing that child to this world. And a mother, you know, she has a different relationship with that child than a father does. And we see it in all of our society. And today there are a lot of mothers in our society who have children, and father has lost his concern or care, and mom is doing her job. And my hat is off to those mothers. But mothers want a child, and these two mothers wanted a child. That they were so desirous to have a child because there was this argument going on. The mother whose child that it was willing to face the authorities, willing to face King Saul or Solomon, but because she wanted her child. The other lady wanted a child so bad, she was willing to lie and be deceptive and go before King Solomon and say, I want a child, and it's my child. So they both wanted a child so much they were willing to go before the authorities to fight for that child. But the real mother in this story, the truth of this story, the real mother was willing to sacrifice her child from herself that it may live. She was willing to let the other lady, who was a deceiving, deceptive, conniving person, take her son in order that it may live. And when I read that story and I thought through the elements of the story, I thought, this is perfect for Mother's Day. You know, today children are being divided today. They're being cut in half emotionally. They're being cut in half spiritually. They're being cut in half relationally. They're being divided with their thought process and with their involvement with those around. There is a cry for allegiance that in the child, a call from society and a call from education and a call from others that they're with. And then there's the call to their self and the battle that's going on within their self of what's right and what's wrong. And then there's this sword over them ready to split them in two because of their emotions and their allegiances and their involvement. There's a battle going on between God and self and church and all these things that are going on. Do I listen to the things of the world, or do I follow the plan of God? Do I follow what my friends and all of those are doing, or do I follow what God wants me to do? There's this sword that's right above them to divide them in half and to separate them. There's a cry for success, what they do with their life. What do I do in the job market? What do I do for income? What do I do in my life as it deals with providing for myself? Over and opposed to doing things that are godly and doing things that are spiritually correct and doing things that are right. And there's this sword that's hanging over them as it relates to what's going on with life and which way do I go? What do I do? Half wants this and half wants that. In fact, I would say it's probably just not children. We adults face some of that same thing ourselves. But there's this battle going on. But there's this division about what's right and what's wrong and what should happen and what should happen. Being divided spiritually. They're divided politically. They're divided socially. They're divided economically. They're divided emotionally. There's this separation. There's this division. There's this desire to tear them apart. But there's something that must take place in our lives spiritually. Because there's a spiritual war over ownership as well. And this spiritual war over ownership, I believe, ties to this same story that I read. There's the spiritual war of ownership from God to Satan. Which one holds on to our lives? Which one holds on to who we are and to what we're doing spiritually? And this division, this question, this separation is always before us. Which way we go? What do we do? I personally, mothers play a vital role in that process. Mothers play a particular role in that process of what's going on in that child. Now, I'm not a child psychiatrist, all those things, but they tell me, I don't know who they is, they get a lot of praise or accusation, don't they? But they tell me that a child learns most of its choices about right and wrong and the things in life by the time it's 8 or 9 or 10 years of age. That it's not when they're out there in adulthood making the decisions that many times it reverts back to what happened in the rule and the control of that home, and may I say that mother, when they're very young in their life. So I believe that mothers have a lot to say about what happens in the child's life between God and Satan and what's right and what's wrong, because in reality you cannot divide them, because if you cut them they're going to be dead. And if you divide them spiritually, they're going to be dead. Too many mothers today are trying to teach their children, oh yeah, you can hold on to the things of the world and you can hold on to the things of God at the same time. Doesn't matter what the teaching of Scripture is, or what the reality of history shows, or what Grandma thought, or what Mom thought or taught from God's Word. That's old school, and here's a new process. You can hold on to both at the same time. Am I preaching okay? Amen. Let me tell you, you cannot. You cannot divide that child, because when that child is divided, it's dead. Scripture says in Matthew 6, no man can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Amen. There is confusion today. We've heard too much of the wrong things. We hear about all the things in life that really doesn't matter about eternal life and eternal existence. But friend, when it comes to the reality of who we are and what we must face the reality that we cannot be divided when it comes to spiritual things. We must make a decision. We're going to live. And we're going to live because Christ has come that we would have life and we would have it more abundantly. That we would live and serve Him and be with Him. We're hearing too much of the wrong stuff. Satan is still trying to destroy us. And he's still in this same spirit. It's nothing but evil that brought about this story I read to you. An evil woman who wanted a child regardless of lying and deception, who goes to claim the child, but it was a mother who said, I will give my child up, that it will live, that brought life to that child. Let me say to you mothers today, when you will give your child up to God and sacrifice that child unto Him and leave the control and care of that child in God's hands, that's the only way he will exist and not be divided. Or she. You try to hold on. You're holding on with the hands of the world and the things of the world. You try to push that child into everything they can be involved with and try to push them into everything that society offers and everything that's going on and not pull them and lead them in the ways of God. You are just like that. You're just like Solomon with a sword to divide that child and to destroy it physically. Oh, yeah, it may live spiritually, physically, but you'll destroy it physically because it'll never know which to choose. And so many today, I see children, they're pushed more. And I know I mention this it's a lot of times when I can, but I don't mean to be hateful, but I see it as a father, as a grandfather, and as a person. I see sometimes so many parents pushing their children to things the world appreciates and not pushing them toward the things of God. Yes. Yes. There's more concern about some sports than there is a teaching of the things of God. Yes. More concerned about being involved in something that gets society understanding than something that gets the appraisal and the appreciation from God and His Spirit. This is a little heavy. But if you're a mother that says, oh, I want to have both, you're just like that mother that says, go ahead, chop them in two. Go ahead, divide them. If she can't have them, I can't have them. Because I want them to have this kind of appreciation, and I want them to have some of this at both times, but sometimes you've got to back up and say, no, I can't have them. I must give them to the working plan of God. I must make the sacrifice in order that they could live. The genuine mother would choose life for her child. She will not let her children be divided in mind and spirit. She will not let them be torn apart with what's over here or what's over there. But she will reach to them with understanding and care and draw them unto the ways of the Lord. How do you do that? You do it by personal example. You do it by your personal life. And you do it by helping those children make choices. Sometimes children don't know. And we have to step in and make that choice for them. They may not like it at that point. But you as a parent, as a mother, as a dad, have to make that choice for that child. Can you say amen? So don't be a mother that is reaching for glamour or success or notoriety or position. Not that the child cannot have things that's there, but don't be pushing them to those areas. Lead them to the ways of the Lord and lead them to God's understanding, because when it all comes down to the end, all those things won't matter. The only thing that matters is knowing Christ and living for Him and serving Him. I want to close with a quote that I found from a man by the name of Billy Sunday. Billy Sunday was a rambunctious preacher back in the early part of the century. About 100 years ago, or a little less. Billy Sunday said this. He said, I don't think there's enough devils in hell to take a young person from the arms of a godly mother. I would change that a little bit and say not just a young person, but I would say a child. Because as I see our children even getting older, I see a mother that still has as much concern about them spiritually as she did when they were infants. And I believe a mother who loves God, no matter how old that child may get, still has a concern for that child's spiritual well-being. Is that right, mothers? Amen. Is that right, mothers? Amen. And so today, all mothers, I believe, have that choice to stand before God and say, God, I give them to you. I'm not going to let them be divided. Or they may be running and trying, but I'm going to be leading to you with every prayer. Every dedication, everything I do, I want to put them into your care and your control. The mother who spares her child. The mother who gives her child away will save that child. But a mother who tries to hold on will divide that child in spiritual death. So Mom, what are you doing? What have you done? Have you released that child to the care of the Creator of God and said, God, regardless of whatever else is out there, I want my child to know you. Regardless of all the other things that they may be able to do, the first thing I want them to know is that Jesus Christ loves them, gave His life for them, and they can live eternally in heaven with Him. I personally believe that's the greatest choice that can ever be made. How about you? Yes. I want you to bow your heads with me for a moment. I want to pray with you. We're going to pray with these mothers and give these gifts away. But Father, I just pray right now for every mother here. This message has been pretty straight and pretty plain, but I preached it in love and I preached it in care. And I pray that every mother here today would see herself in a spiritual realm now, standing before you at decision time, judgment time, as these mothers were standing in front of King Solomon. But I pray that they will decide and determine today that I'm going to give my child to the Lord. I'm going to give him or her to God, that God's will be done in my child's life more than anything else. When I'm gone or we're gone, the children are here and their time will come. God, the only thing that matters is the commitment and dedication to you. And Father, today I pray for each mother, each person here, and us fathers as well, that we will join in this effort of saying we won't have our children divided. We won't have them cut in two spiritually and emotionally, but we will give them to the will and plan of God for all of their life and all that they do. That you do and accomplish in every heart of our life. We'll give you thanks and praise. In Christ's name. I want every mother in this place just to come here and stand with me. Every mother here. Okay? Mother to have a rose this morning, so come up close. Every mother got a rose. Let's make sure every mother has got a rose. Every mother got one. Sharon, nobody has one. You share it. got a rose? Now, I learned on the cruise when I went to a class on floral arrangements because Sharon wanted to go. Now, if you cut them off on an angle and put them in some sugar water, they'll last a long time because it'll feed it. So go and put in some sugar water to make it last. But I was thinking this morning as I was undoing these roses and putting them in the basket, it sort of reminded me of my kids. Because I got stuck a couple of times. Sorry, Sean. Got stuck a couple of times as I was unwrapping them and giving them, but then I saw the beautiful rose and I thought, wow, the stick is worth it. To have the beautiful rose that's there. So mothers, as it reminds you, hope it reminds you of your life today, and we've got live roses, red roses, because all of you are alive and well. But we want God's blessings on you. You're an important part of God's kingdom. And all that you do is important. And so, take it with you and smell it along the way and let it be a blessing. Now let's give away some gifts. Then I want to pray. I threw them out. So put them back in there. Got a lot of mothers here today. Well, I think all you out there would give all these mothers a nice hand. Didn't they do that? Jade Smith. Hey, Jade. God bless you, darling. God bless you. Jade's a newcomer to our church. And appreciate Jade. Yeah. Praise the Lord. How about Arwanda? No, Arvanda. It's Arvanda Thoda. Where's my number? Good. Here we go. One more. Judy Worthington. All right. I'm trying to be as fair as I can. You know what? I wish I had one for every one of them. Wouldn't that be great?
Amen.
That'd be awesome. Okay, here we go. Sandy Lake. We still have 4 more, but that's all we have to give away. But God bless you, ladies, and all of you. I want to pray for you one more time. And I hope that you will take the little message I've shared today and apply it to your life and to your children, no matter how old they may be. Because I'm not going to divide them. I'm going to give them to Christ. Amen? Amen? Let's do that right now. Father, on this Mother's Day, I join with all of these mothers that are here. And I feel in my spirit the agreement with them in spirit that today we're going to give our children to you. We're going to submit them to the plan that you have for them, regardless of whatever else they accomplish, and feed into them that the greatest accomplishments they'll ever accomplish is knowing Jesus Christ as Lord of their life. It's not the other accolades and the other things that will pass away and the other things that will be gone, but what will matter when we stand before you and you say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. God bless these mothers today and all that they do. May their lives ever be blessed by your presence and your power. In Christ's name. Amen. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day.